In his treatise of human nature in 1739, and following the tradition of Descartes, Hobbes, and Spinoza, David Hume proposed that there must be three conditions for causality. The first one is contiguity in space and time of cause and effect. That means that the event or object that we consider the cause and the one we consider effect should be close in space and close in time. Regarding time, the second condition is that cause occurs before the effect. And the final one is that there is a necessary connection of cause and effect. Now, for Hume, there was a problem. There is no problem with the first two conditions. We see events occurring close in space and time. We see events that happen one before the other. But there is no way that we can justify the necessary connection between cause and effect. So we can see one time, two times, three times, hundreds of times, thousands of times that when we throw an object to the air, it will fall to earth. But there is no way that we can guarantee that the same will happen the next time we do the same. So, for Hume, we cannot justify that cause is something that exists in reality. Instead, he proposed that cause is something that is in our minds. It's something that we learn by observing that things occur together in time, and then we create by association an idea in our minds that one of these events is the cause and the other one is an effect. Let's see the example. This black ball touches the light ball and produces a movement, but in our minds we add something else. In this case represented by an arrow, but it could be in terms of language. We can say that the black ball caused the movement of the light ball, or could be in any other representation, but it is an idea in our minds, not something that happens in reality. So causality does not occur in reality. It is a mental construction due to the repeated and constant conjunction between the event we call cause and that we call effect. Now, this is even more important or more scary. Hume not only created a problem regarding causality, we cannot justify that causality exists in nature, in reality, but also he put a question. He questioned the use of induction to make inferences about how the world works. So induction is that based on observation of specific things, we generate a general law. If we observe that we throw a stone and the stone goes to the floor one time, two times, three times, many times, then we generalize, and that's induction, and we say that whenever we throw a stone, the stone will fall to the floor. Well, Hume says we cannot, that's not a knowledge that is certain, because it may be the case that the next time we do it, it doesn't happen. So Hume was considered a skeptic, but in fact Hume is not proposing skepticism. He is proposing that not that we abandon induction in order to achieve knowledge. He said this is the best we have, but what we have to give up is the goal of achieving certain necessary knowledge. Now, someone was not very happy with that. That was Immanuel Kant. He was a physicist, a Newtonian physicist, but he thought that Hume's questioning of causality and induction were a serious problem for science. So he changed his career. Instead of continuing with his studies in physics, he became a philosopher, and he proposed a radical solution to Hume's problem. So in his Critique of Human Reason in 1781, like Hume, he indicated that causality is in the mind. It's not something that happens in nature, or perhaps it is, but in fact, we don't know, because he proposed that there are two things. One is what we call the noumena, is like the things as they actually are, that's the actual reality, and the phenomena. Phenomena are things as they appear to us. And he said there is no way we can know things as they are. We only have access to things as they appear to us, the phenomena. So he says causality is something that occurs in the mind. And unlike Hume, causality is not something that we learn by observation of the constant conjunction between the event we cause cause and the event we cause effect. It is actually a category, he calls it, but today we call it a schema, that is innate. A priori means that it's there before we observe anything. So it's in our brains before we observe events. And because we have this schema or category, as he called it, it is that we perceive that events happen sequentially in time. So that he actually called that a Copernican revolution in terms of how we acquire knowledge. So if we follow the same idea, instead of like Hume, that he said that we observe the black ball hitting on the light ball many times, and that generates the idea of causation or causality in our minds. For Immanuel Kant, that idea is there before we make observations. Okay? So we observe those events, but we observe directly as that one caused the other. There's not a learning process. We observe that because we've got this innate category of causation, and causation is one of many categories that we have.